Hi, it's Glenn Dietzel here, live from the Canadian Lake Home on a frozen Lake Huron. I'm away again for this Google Hangout, our normal Google Hangout time. So what you're going to have access to right after this quick introduction here is one of my very best interviews that I've ever done with one of my clients. In fact, it was the most favorite and liked Google Hangout over the last half of a year. You're going to absolutely love this interview. You're going to learn a ton about closing high-end deals. So enjoy it.
Hello everybody, welcome to another Google Hangout here. This is actually the last Google Hangout that we're doing in 2013. This is live from the Canadian Lake Home. I'm really excited to bring on one of our Omega Mind clients today, because I want to talk today to Stephen about the transformation process of what he's been able to accomplish literally in 30 days. From the time was our first Omega Mind event was 30 days ago. So we're going to take a look at where he was before, after. We're going to talk about ROIT today, return on invested time, and why it's absolutely critical that in the advisory age you understand this concept. So I got a chance to interview two of our clients on Monday, and I've got some pictures here to show you too, a little bit of what's going on here recently at the Canadian Lake Home. So before I bring Stephen on, I want to share my screen here. I'm going to share a couple of pictures, and Stephen might find this a little bit amusing. So I'm going to just share here with you, and right here, that's Stephen Rowell. You'll meet Stephen here in just a second. Stephen is the one, the good-looking guy with the hands up. And that was a picture here at the Canadian. That was at Omega Mind at the Canadian Lake Home. And another thing that we really like about Omega Mind is the opportunity for people that are truly into business breakthroughs, creating massive business breakthroughs for themselves, to connect with other people, and that's Stephen with one of the Omega Mind members, with Kellen Fluckiger. Stephen, I thought I would start off by showing a couple of those pictures. I didn't know if you knew they were taken or not. But also, I just got a chance to interview Susan and Chris Smith, and in the last 30 days, they have $1.5 million of new deals on the table, closing them. You heard them comment, and if you missed our Google Hangout, make sure you get it from Monday. You just have to click on, go to our Google Hangout page, and get the replay. But you'll take a look at what they're doing today that they didn't even see 30 days ago until they came into Omega Mind. And Susan was complaining that they haven't even had a chance to get ready for Christmas yet. Normally this is their slowest month in business. In the last 12 years, December is always their worst month. It's their best month ever in business. In fact, it's their best quarter ever in business, just thanks to this month alone. So we're pretty excited about that. That's what we call speed to market. And that's in front of the Christmas tree here at the Canadian Lake Home. And just recently, a couple more pictures for you to see. Some pictures from Christmas at the Canadian Lake Home, some of the attendees who attended, and a couple of pictures there for you to see. We also have, as one of our Omega Mind members, Renee Benwallace from 22 Social. Every Omega Mind member is giving to everybody within the group their best system, and Renee was sharing the power of 22 Social as an Omega Mind member. So lots of things going on here at the Canadian Lake Home, and I just thought I would share with all of you just a quick update here. And now I'm going to bring on Stephen. And I'm excited to bring Stephen on. I've got a few questions that I want to ask him. And if you've been following our Business Breakthrough Google Hangouts, especially when I interview clients, it's very much, you know, in the moment to help you. These are directed, number one, to our clients. Secondly, we invited guests on here so you can learn from our clients, and also you can see a whole new revolutionary approach of doing high-end coaching and consulting, and the power of what every one of our Omega Mind members is going to be able to leverage, and that's power of entrepreneurial certification that allows you to go into new markets faster and quicker, so you never have to sell anymore. You literally just co-brand with the top coaches, trainers, and your own clients. So very powerful stealth method of getting into markets and doing it really at the speed of market. So anyways, with that being said, I'm going to introduce Stephen here to you. And I'm going to interview Stephen as an Omega Mind member. And Stephen, just before we get started, why don't you just tell us where you hail from, and maybe just 10, 15-second Cliff Notes version of Stephen, without giving away too much, because I'm going to talk to you more about who you are and what you're doing. But just let everybody know where you come from and one or two interesting points about what makes you unique, Stephen.
Sure. Thank you, Glenn. So I hail from outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania and have lived up here about 12 years. I'm a transplant from Fort Worth, Texas after 20 years. And in between Texas and PA, I was working at Walt Disney World for about 8 years, and that was a life-changing experience. And I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, and I'm a published author. And one of the things I would just share with you that's exciting, Glenn, is that I've actually known you for 10 years. I remember meeting you at public seminars, but I'm one of those people, and I think this is a really great lesson right off the bat for people, and I'm serious, speaking from the heart. You have been nothing but generous to me, and I had not spent a dime with you, but I had seen you at different public events, and you kept giving me great value and all of that. And I just cannot share enough the power for everyone that you never know who your client will turn out to be. It may not be today, but it could be somebody, the way you treated them in a hallway at a seminar, for instance, that makes all the difference in the world. So I just want you to know, Glenn, that's part of the nugget of history for me that's profound, is that I've known you, I've seen you grow at just unbelievable rates, and couldn't believe, in fact, the first 2.5 years what you did. And now I've finally gotten out of my own way, which will be a theme that you hear today. I finally got out of my own way and made the leap. And quite honestly, the investment that I made in Omega Mind was when I finally got out of my own way to care enough about myself, which will make sense later. But so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate you bringing that up. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and I'm really excited about the people that we have in Omega Mind, people like Stephen, and a wealth of just knowledge. Stephen, let's talk about the theme today is going to be ROIT, and if you don't understand what ROIT is, for our invited guests, our clients will, it's return on invested time. So let me just quickly highlight this, Stephen, something that we did. I'm going to show everybody here. I'll disappear here for a second. I'm going to show you, this was a slide, and I showed you on Monday, everybody was just taking constant pictures of my slides. We're supposed to take pictures of each other, and I was hoping they would be taking pictures of me, but it found like people were taking more pictures of slides than me, but I guess somebody pointed out that was probably a good thing. But my wife would too. We talk about, if you look at the left side over here, this is the law of quantum growth, and we believe that it's possible, absolutely, definitively possible, that all of you can make quantum leaps of accomplishment, of doing things much faster and quicker. I personally believe that life is about a series of accelerated sprints. So you sprint, you self-reflect, you gather yourself, maybe go on a little vacation or something, and then you sprint again and you self-reflect, etc. Because one of our speed to market principles is he or she who self-reflects the greatest controls marketplaces. But if you take a look over on the left side, most people, if they're looking at, I'm not going to teach off this slide. I just want you to understand that most people are looking at return on investment, right? We all do. We invest in a program. We want to know what the ROI is on the program. What I would rather all of you see is the importance of ROIT, return on invested time. In other words, ROI is really tied into acceleration or execution. Now, we teach clients how to execute at an accelerated rate. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about acceleration and execution and what Stephen's been able to do, but we're going to I want to focus our discussion more on ROIT, return on invested time, looking at ways of accelerating focus, which means how do we generate newer and faster conversations in the marketplace and with ourselves. So, Stephen, I just wanted to point that out because that's going to be a theme that runs through here today, especially from the standpoint of making quantum leaps. And I've got my marker here because I always take notes anytime people are speaking, my clients are, they understand why I do this and I teach this. Building out marketing feedback data. There's no better way of knowing what you do than hearing your clients talk about what it is that you do. So you're not left to guesswork and positioning like most experts and gurus who will hold you hostage to strategic positioning. So we want to help you with that today. You've got a great thinker and a great mind here to help you. And let me just hold on a second. I'm going to run out of battery power here and disappear if I don't plug my computer in. And this is the joy of sometimes doing calls. And let me just hold on a second, Stephen. I'm on my laptop, everybody, here, and I thought I had more battery power, so let me just disappear here for a second. Okay, as soon as I saw the 3% come up, it's like, oh no. I know 3% is it. Once it goes 3%, I got like 30 seconds, and then boom, I disappear. Yep. So, anyways, always check your battery power. I honestly thought I had about a good 30 minutes of battery power left. So let's, Stephen, let's talk about you first of all. Where were you 30 days ago before you decided to move forward in Omega Mind? It was kind of like a last minute decision for you. You could have easily said no. In fact, there was a lot of things going on in your life, I think, that probably at a gut visceral level, you're probably thinking, I can't do this. You decided to do it. So talk about, 30 days ago, where were you?
Sure. So to scoot back just quickly, June of last year, I closed Reconnect Consulting, which was my very successful management consulting company that I had for 11 years, ever since October 8th, 2001, just after the horrible tragedy of 9/11. And I closed that business June of 2012, so just last year. And it was one of those moments where it rocked my confidence. I'd never had a failure in all my businesses my entire life. And so to answer your question, where I was 30 days before joining Omega Mind, I basically was being supported almost wholly, probably 80% of my income was based on my speakers bureaus. And so my speakers bureaus, I've been a professional speaker and a change management consultant for years, but as a professional speaker, I basically fell back on the easy road, if you will, and figured out that most of my income was coming from speakers bureaus. And of course, a lot of speakers are out there that don't even have the benefit of a speakers bureau. But the downside of speakers bureau is that I was giving away 35% of all my income. And every time I would leave the house, and this is the salient point, every time I would leave the home, my wife would turn to me and she'd go, "Oh, Stephen, is this a speakers bureau deal or is this yours? Is this your deal or a speakers bureau? Is this your deal or a speakers bureau?" And that voice in my mind started grating like a chainsaw, because basically what she was saying was, this is not the husband who I've been married to for 10 years. And Glenn, basically, she was in all the best ways she knew how. We all try to love each other the best way we know how. And in her way, she was trying to say, "Stephen, why have you settled? Why have you just become basically a different form of an employee?" Which, as a professional speaker, it sounds glamorous. It just means that you're away from your 9-year-old and your golden doodle, and it means you're in an airplane all the time. So what had happened to the point of ROIT, Glenn, quite frankly, I had succumbed to my own version, call it self-employment, of my own exchanging time for money. And that was very painful for me as a person. And then I had all kinds of issues blocking me and I'll give you the quick thing, where I was 30 days ago before joining Omega Mind, I didn't have my one thing anymore. What I had was I had 5 things. I'll give you an example. I had a marketing company for 7 years simultaneous to Reconnect. And so I had 2 pending contracts where I would help people build their sales funnels. But it wasn't fulfilling, it wasn't passion-filled, and I basically was getting along. Then I would go off and do 3 or 4 days a week speaking at American Express and BMW and Mercedes and all these great companies, Shell Corporation in Canada, up in Alberta. And that was great, and I got the ego stroke that I've worked with 26 of the big Fortune 100 corporations and all that. but none of it was filling me. So quite honestly, the wrap-up is zero confidence, zero focus on the one thing, massive potential based on my years of entrepreneurial success, but I'd hit a wall, and I basically had suffered the last year of my life just getting in my own way. And then I had a wife who, by the way, owns a very successful corporate film and documentary film company, former producer of NBC's Dateline for 12 years, and started her own film company. And I'm watching her, Glenn, land contracts with Depuy Synthes and Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceutical and all these amazing companies. And so I even found myself not offering help to my own wife and helping her build their business. So that's how out of my own head I was to answer the question. But I wanted to give that to everybody as a background to understand I was your classic metaphorical successful person who basically had just gotten completely blocked. And you, Glenn, and the Omega Mind experience, which we'll talk about, is literally, no exaggeration, the single catalyst that rocked me out of my stuff. And I'm now at seriously, I'm at more peace. I've lost 11 pounds. And I genuinely believe that's because of stress and just really refocusing on what matters most. So there's all these little incremental things. I gave up Diet Coke completely. I used to drink 10 of them a day. I now drink nothing but water. I've lost 11 pounds. I've lost 3 sizes around my waist by just caring about myself. I have to tell you that that's because of the people I met at Omega Mind, Helen Flupiger, for instance, the gentleman in the tie that you saw in that photo. But it's really about the catalytic mechanism that occurred when I finally stepped out and did the Omega Mind. And now we, of course, can talk about the practical aspects, but I just wanted people to understand that there are probably people watching this that have some form, some even worse, of what I experienced. And so I just have to share with you that the Omega Mind was the catalyst for me.
Stephen, describe, okay, and thank you for kind of setting the stage, if you will. Where are you today? Let's jump right there, and then we're going to kind of deconstruct a few things here. Again, around our theme of ROIT, newer and faster conversations, yep. What you've been able to do. So let's just focus on, where are you today, 30 days later?
Yep. So I left your lovely home in Canada, and my action list, sure, I had 18 pages of notes, but what I also had, because you forced us to do this, which is a key distinction to the way you work, we had to write scripts, sales scripts and contact scripts before we left. And I literally left your home with a 5-step script, which is one of your really speed to market mastery skills. And I left with that script. And what I did was, on the airplane flying home, I made a list of people who I had in my own funnel for consulting that, for whatever reason, they didn't go with me, but they had never hired me. So I said, you know what, this is crazy. Just pick up the phone. So I went back home, sat at my desk, and literally just said, I call it dialing for dollars. And I just called people that knew of me, might have hired me, for instance, as a keynote speaker, but had not hired me as a consultant. And I said, look, I have this value opportunity for you. If it resonates, what's going on in your business? If it resonates in others, I just went through that speed process. And what happened was, I signed up $55,000 in consulting agreements, took one of my own templates of the agreement, tweaked 2 paragraphs of it based on what Glenn had given us, which was priceless, and then simplified. And here's the big thing for me: simplify, simplify, simplify. I turned my 4-page agreement down into a 1.5 pages, went straight to it, closed both the clients over the phone, signed them up. And the exciting thing is, it's not just the $55,000 with 2 clients. It's the fact that the one client probably is worth $145,000 to $165,000 more in follow-up sales, because this is basically just the initial project to set him up for his success, and then he'll need that 6-figure deal in order to maintain it, because he won't want to maintain it himself. So that was great. But then the other thing, which is really key with ROIT, and Glenn, you don't even know this yet, because I haven't actually to tell you this, but what I did with the ROIT piece was, I said to myself, what is my greatest gift? And the one thing is, I keep coming back to it, the one thing is one of the most profound takeaways for me of this whole thing so far is, Stephen, what's your one thing? And so what I figured out was, and I've been told this for years, is that not only am I great on stage as a speaker, but I can sell ice to an Eskimo. So, however, I can't sell water to a fireman standing in front of a burning house when I'm completely blocked, like I have been for the last year, 1.5 years. So what I did was I said, okay, my gift is to sell for other people. So here's the irony. When you get clear about what you want and you are around the quality of people, quite frankly, that Glenn attracts, which is a market distinction, because I've been in at least, I went back and looked, I've been in 12 masterminds in 9 years. And easily, by far, the quality of the people in Glenn's group are by far some of the most powerful, most helpful people that I've had experience with. So it's the program, it's Glenn, it's Omega, it's the catalyst aspect, and it's also the people. But what happened was I basically got in the airplane in Detroit, flying home from Canada. And it's interesting, the law of attraction. Once you get clear, once you know who you are, and once you know what you want, the universe responds. Well, true story. A 53-year-old, incredibly polished professional woman who's a professional speaker walks up to me at the TSA security line, and I said, I did the typical, so what do you do? And she starts talking to me. And I took one of the phrases, the 30-second elevator pitches that I had written 24 hours before in Glenn's home, in fact, in the room that Glenn is sitting in now, and it flowed out of me like water, and I just said it, and the woman goes, oh, no way, that's exactly what I need. And then she goes, I've been trading airplane trips and flying all over for keynote speeches, and I'm 53 years old, and I know I'm leaving millions of dollars on the table. And I said, you know what? And the rest of that story is, in the next 15 minutes after we got through TSA, I basically did, literally step by step, exactly what, when I was hugging Glenn and leaving the house, I offered her her first consult, and I said, write a check to my charity, Acres of Love in Africa, which was a whole psychological connection, which has resonated now 3 times in the relationship. And now she's already invested over $1,000 to go to this new training in January with National Speakers Association. And I said, as soon as you get back from that, let me show you how to execute on that instead of coming home overwhelmed. And that was a conversation I had today. So it really is speed to market once you get clear. You know who you are, you know what you want. And I have to say, Omega Mind, to give you all a sense, I pushed away 7 different business deals and niches and markets, and I've now come down to the one. And that, I genuinely believe, is why I feel like I'm back. I feel like I've lost weight. I'm eating healthier. I've got more energy. That's the power of it, and I think the universe responds to that. So,
Stephen, if we could just maybe highlight for us 2 or 3 things, the 2 or 3 biggest takeaways specifically that you learned at Omega Mind, what would they be?
Yep. Beyond the one thing and the clarity, there is the pick up the phone. Forget about the fact you need a $10,000 corporate color brochure. I sold to corporations for 11 years with Reconnect Consulting. As a professional speaker, I've never had a speaker's website. I've never had a demo video. So when you started teaching all of that and being, letting go of all those excuses of things people think they need, and just go pick up the phone, offer the value of what you do, and then ask for the check. That it sounds simple, but literally, if you just go and do that with confidence, business will transact. And one of the things I thought about was no public seminar you ever go to gets you a check in your hand. Even there, it's the person you walk up to and then you offer value, and they say, oh, great, I'd love to hire you. So that was the first one. The next one, though, was the idea, which was absolutely, I mean, it's something I intellectually knew, but it was a great example of let's do it, was when you said, go survey your target prospects. In other words, go find 10, 15, 20 people that are in the industry that you're wanting to target and go interview them, just survey them, and crawl inside their heads. Well, 7 years ago, I taught maid service owners that back in my own mastermind group, but it's been years, Glenn, and it's amazing. One of the things that sticks out for me is often we teach what we need. Often we teach what we need. And sure enough, you were a sage to come to me and say, Stephen, just go out and survey people in your new market. So I went and did that. And I've learned, there's 2 things I've learned already in about 7 phone calls. I've picked up on language, Glenn, that I didn't even realize was critically important. In other words, it was really brand new language. Because I'd been out of that space full time for a while, and I was like, okay, that's helpful. So I got language. And then the other thing was I drilled down into the pain and what keeps you up at night and what are you focusing on and what do you, how do you spend your time What do you need to stop doing and start doing? And so it's been priceless. So the surveying, and this is for anybody that's listening, even if you've been in your niche for I'm telling you, even if you've been in your niche for 13 years, get an intern or do it yourself, whatever you need to do. But just go and do a survey today of customers, and I guarantee you'll still learn something about your market. So that was huge. And then the other one is you gave us that gift of the 5 questions to ask your client in the initial engagement, which really facilitates something that I had done for years, but had, again, shame on me, had gotten away from. And that's that whole idea of what's become known as the napkin close, where in my consulting, I would have an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in front of my client, my CEO of a hospital, for instance, and I would lay out a mind map of everything we're talking about. Well, I incorporated those 5 questions that you gave us into that conversation, and 2 of them really helped me surface greater, more meaningful data. So then I went straight to the conversation of, well, great, if I can help you with that, these 3 issues I can really help you with. I've done it in 531 hospitals. Here's the success, and here's the social proof. The rest of that, I can refer you to somebody. And he goes, oh, you could? I said, sure. So the wrap-up of this is what I've realized, Glenn, is that I need to go and monetize the referrals of these other people, because quite honestly, I can do that because we're talking about $50,000, $100,000 consulting gigs that these guys will get, and I need to monetize that. And so that's a way of doing an ROIT, which is, look, my value in the marketplace is I have the relationship, it's my client, and I haven't monetized that in my management. I did that online, on my online stuff, sure I have. But in the bricks and mortar, I'd gotten away from that, which is crazy that you know it in online, but you don't remind yourself offline. And so I thought, you know what, I need to do that. And so as an example, this woman I told you that was a professional speaker in Detroit, she emailed me this morning and said, hey, Stephen, I have this great corporation, it's a Fortune 100 corporation, and she goes, I have this huge opportunity. They want to do multiple speeches. And I said, tell you what, I'll do the phone call for you. I'll book the licensing of your content. You'll do a train the trainer, and you give me 25% of the entire revenue. And she didn't even balk. Why? Because she knows that's not her gift, it's not her strength. So I can now, and I'm serious, I now can sit at home, which is my dream of being able to walk down my private road here in the snow with my 9-year-old. I can sit at home now, Glenn, as an example to the ROIT, and I can go help other people build their business and then just take a percentage for doing that. And I'll do that all day long.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
That's fantastic. I'm going to bring my head up here a little bit bigger now, Stephen, just for a second.
Yep.
I'd like to, if you would, spend a couple of moments talking to our invited guests and our clients who are attending right now, to speak to them specifically about developing newer and faster conversations from your perspective. It's a big one that we've highlighted with all of our clients and help them. You have an accountability action form that's really cool in terms of measuring transactions, transaction sizes, conversations, and a point system that as a company we're getting ready to use with all of our clients in a competitive format starting in the new year with the competition. But speak to our invited guests and our Omega Mind member clients who are on here about some principles from your perspective about developing this whole concept of newer and faster conversations. So, because you've created some very good conversations that are allowing you to build passive streams of income, are allowing you to take a deal and become a 6-figure, 7-figure deal. So talk to us from your perspective about generating newer and faster conversations.
Sure. So the first thing is raise your prices. I mean, fundamental, raise your prices, period. End of discussion. When you raise your prices, more customers will come to you. It's counterintuitive, but it's simple. I've seen it in too many different industries. It's happened in all 5 of the niches I've been in the last 15 years. Raise your prices, you'll get more customers. That's number 1. Number 2, the qualifier of those more customers is you get better customers, less returns, less complaints, better success, better testimonials, better relationship. You get higher referrals and so on. So the reason I give that as a backdrop is I would say in terms of newer and faster conversation, the one thing I would say that you also inspired in me there in your home was, all right, I provide plumbing services for a home, or I'm a spiritual teacher healer, and I want to do seminars, or I'm an insurance agent and I want to provide greater insurance services. Doesn't matter what it is that you do. Here's what I constantly hear from people. They say to me, well, I don't have a Disney story, Stephen. I don't have I didn't work for some big Fortune 500 corporation, and I don't have some big story. And I'm like, yes, you do. Actually, what you're doing, and here's the thing. The cancer is, so I'm going to go talk to a small customer right now, and hopefully just get in the door, and then I'll do that project, and then I'll get experience, and then I can build from that. And I think what's so incredible about Chris and Susan, your last hangout, Glenn, was he admitted being a perfectionist and all that stuff and doing his research. He had to read another book. But what's incredible, their $1.5 million came from the very, and I was there at the Omega Mind with them. It came from the very thing that we're talking about, which was they said, you know what, we just need to go to the top, go to the biggest. So my message for everybody is, as an example, I'm a professional speaker. It's one of the slices of my life is I'm a professional speaker. Folks, it takes just as long for me to sell a $10,000 keynote speech for 90 minutes at American Express than it does to go speak at my Chester County Chamber of Commerce for $2,500 and then drive across town and go work at Billy's Flower Shop that has 100 employees and charge $2,500 and then go sell $2,500 speech at the local knick-knack store, which is what people do. And so one of the faster conversations I think you have to do, seriously, is just go to instead of saying, I'm going to build, someday I'm going to work with Amex, pick up the phone, use LinkedIn, find out who the vice president of XYZ is at LinkedIn or at Amex, and pick up the phone. With Google and LinkedIn, you can do it in a heartbeat. And Glenn, you gave us a Megamind, an entire roadmap of how to do that, which was mind-blowing. But even without the roadmap, just from taking what Glenn has taught through different Hangouts, just pick up the phone and call. And I'll give you the one nuance. Here's the nuance. Hi, my name's Stephen Rowell. I was just curious if you would have 5 minutes to talk to me about how your company has been successful doing blank. So, for instance, in my hospital world, hi, I noticed that your hospital is one of the top 25 patient satisfaction hospitals in the country. So I'm just curious if you would have 5 minutes to talk to me about what are 3 or 4 of the things you have done at your hospital, Cleveland Clinic, the largest hospital in America. What is it that you've done to be successful? Oh, wow, that's great. And then at the end of that call, you just simply say, and what is it that's not working for you? Well, true story, that's how I landed Cleveland Clinic. And I had him for 3.5 years as a 6-figure client, and that was several years ago. The issue was, pick up the phone, and then you taught us this, pick up the phone, stop acting like you're going to go sell something, and instead ask a bunch of questions, find out what their pain is, and say, well, you know what, if I had a solution for that, do you think that would help? So that's been another part of faster conversation.
That's fantastic. I'm going to bring my my goofy head up here so everybody can see me again.
Feel free to follow up. I mean, if there's some other angle you want me to share on that.
Yeah, no, this is very good. We're going to go a little bit extra today if you've got extra time, Stephen, maybe another 5-6 minutes or so. From your perspective, what are some things that people should stop doing immediately? And you probably, if you want to pick up on something that you've already mentioned about stopping, and what should they start doing? And I say that maybe, from a different point of view of what you've just brought out, or something else just to get you thinking, and for our listener, our invited guests and our Omega Mind members that are watching here, just some perspectives from you and some specific recommendations.
Okay. Stop thinking that no matter what market you're in, whoever your competitors are, stop looking at that competitor of yours that you think is number one in your marketplace, whether that's just you thinking that or it's truly they're the best in the... I mean, think about Avis rental car competing with Hertz, right? Because Hertz was number one. Stop looking at your competitor, that big number one competitor, and thinking that there's something so special about that person. Because frankly, they're not. here's what I've learned. I'm only 46 years old, but here's what I've learned. And you teach this. It's one of the major reasons Omega Mind was so compelling for me. Folks, and this is true in online internet work as well as offline. The only reason the number one competitor is the number one competitor that you're so worried about, it's not because they're special, it's not because they have some great new widget, it's not because of the distinction. It doesn't matter. They can have a great invention, a great patent. Here's the secret. None of it matters. It's about speed of implementation. The reason they're number one is they're doing more things. They're simply doing more things right that serve their customer, serve their client. In other words, they're filling more needs faster, or they're filling one need really well and really fast, and it's implementation. So my follow-up to that is start letting go of perfection, and my sales copy isn't done, and my website's not perfect, and blah, blah, blah. I just told you that for me as a professional speaker, I never had a demo video ever. Every single speaker trainer out there will tell you, oh, you have to have a demo video. Can't be on the internet without a demo video. Well, I tell you, I mean, Glenn, you could literally change the speaking industry. Just get 100 speakers and bring them to your house, and you would transform that whole industry, because it's filled with this myth and myth and myth. The other one is start, and this was huge for me. I'm sure there's lots of other students in Omega Mind that got this, but I got this from Glenn. Start with the, and Glenn, give me the better language, but it's the being contrarian or going against the norm. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, mine in speaking is you don't need a demo video. You don't need a website. You don't need a speaker's kit and a media kit. Right. It's all the things everybody thinks, the myths. So you taught us that, and that was one of my big takeaways as well, to answer your question, was be contrarian in the marketplace. Ryan Dice has a great one where he said, blogging is dead. And then he did an entire solution around, you don't do blogging, you do authority blogging, and you let other people blog and give you the content, but it's your blog site. Mm-hmm. That's a really great example. I think it's a crystal clear example for everybody. So stop thinking that they're special, start realizing it's about implementation, start implementing, stop perfectionism. I mean, Glenn, you do it yourself. You'll have typos on a sales page, you'll have a typo on a handout, and it's hilarious. You're like, yep, there is a typo. Great, next, let's go, right?
Or the power will run out in the middle of my Google Hangout where I got to disappear and plug my computer back in.
Right. When his own team member Nadine says, Steven, make sure your computer is plugged in, you have power, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. But in other words, I'm serious. It's about just go do something. And then the other one I would say really quick is this, Glenn. As people come to the end of the year, and I'm doing this myself right now, what is the single, and you teach this yourself, what is the highest value activity to get you into I keep using American Express. What is the highest value activity today, tomorrow, and Monday that you have to do to get you that much closer to American Express? When you were teaching that at Omega Mind, Glenn, you were reaching deep inside of my cranium going, Steven, you've allowed yourself to get too diluted, you got all these things going on, and just let's focus and get the one, and then, okay, the thing I need to do today, and so for me, and you heard it with Chris and Susan, I mean, how do you get $1.5 million of business in 30 days? They obviously, and they said it the other day, they picked up the phone. So, and then I told you, obviously, there are people out there that can help you with your blocked beliefs and your limiting beliefs. I would say stop listening to those stories and start acknowledging to yourself that what's keeping you from doing what you're doing or achieving your real success is fear. And Glenn, you would agree, it's fear. It's rooted in some fear. It's a form of fear, right? And guess what mine was? Guess what one of mine was, Glenn? And this person, Hal Dibner, helped me in the last 30 days in terms of my own locking limiting belief. It was, if I continue down the road of doing the speaking and keep building out my business as a speaker, I won't be home to see my 9-year-old grow up. So guess what happened? I just kept letting the Speakers Bureau book me, but I wasn't doing anything strategically. And so I just ended up on an escalator going to nowhere. Meanwhile, I was getting the very thing I didn't want, which was being on an airplane and being away from my 9-year-old. So start being open to what's your limiting beliefs, stop allowing yourself to be frozen, acknowledge that it's fear. So those are enough, I think.
The I'm going to bring myself back in here. Stephen, you picked up on something because you're a real family guy, obviously. That's coming through very clearly. You know, I've done quite a bit of traveling. One of the things that I've been bothered by is the fact that I have two boys, 15, 16, and over the last several years, I haven't been able to take them on some of my trips where they could watch me, learn a ton from me. And so one of the reasons why I decided, a couple of years ago, started to bring clients in for one-on-one days with myself, so that clients could meet my kids and my family. My kids could start seeing more of what I do, learn from that, because I believe that modeling is the #1 way that we learn. Imprinting, as you know, is so big when it comes to, Steven's just plugging in his computer too, everybody, so just so you know. Imprinting is so huge in terms of how you can build the kind of habits of success. But so I started bringing people in. I realized, you know what, I really like this, and that's what got me thinking a few months ago about running small, high-end intensives with me, and not having to go anywhere else in the world. I've done that. I've rented out personal mansions, and brought people in. I thought, why not just do it from my own place? I mean, I got a place that everybody loves. And sat down with my wife and said, you know what, I really would like to do that. Are you okay with it? And we own a couple of residences here in town, and I really thought, this would be ideal. And we started doing that, and it's the best thing I've ever done, because not only, Stephen, do we get to bring in people like yourself, which is it's mind-boggling, the kind of people. You saw Renee Benuelis, who was here for Christmas at the Canadian Lake Home, who you'll meet in Omega Mine. Just some really unbelievably sharp people that really want to play all out in business. But what I like is my kids get a chance to see me, get a chance to meet with my clients, interact, and they're growing at ways that I couldn't, the school system can't teach, and I come out of the school system, and they're seeing their imagination is being opened up as to what's possible for them. And that's what I'm really excited about. So I totally get what you just said about, family's got to come first.
Well, the big issue is, what's the race? Why are we all working so hard? Why are we racing? So let me just give you, and I stepped away to get this. And
okay.
This is nothing fancy, but
I thought you were plugging your computer in.
But to drive home the point, this is my son Kia, K-I-A, Kiaresh. My wife is from Iran. Kiaresh is his name. He goes by Kia. Kia writes his letter to Santa, and it says, "Dear Santa, I have been a good boy this year. I want a Wii U game. I want a Pikmin 3 for Wii, any Lego City or Lego Star Wars set, and anything else you want to give me." And then here's the final sentence to wrap up with. "And that I see my parents more because I know you work with God. Sincerely, Kia."
Wow.
Now, if that, when you pick
You're
that
the gatekeeper.
up, when your child goes to sleep that night, which was 3 nights ago, and you finally walk over to the couch and you pick this up, and then you hand it to your wife, here's the gift. My wife and I had a 4-hour conversation about what are the choices that are not working for us, that caused a 9-year-old to ask Santa that he needs to see his parents more because he knows Santa works with God. I will tell you that this year is going to be the best year of my life, my wife's life. I helped my wife, because of Omega Mine, just the other day, move her I can't say the name of the company, but it's the largest pharmaceutical company in the world. She's been doing corporate videos with them. I helped her with one conversation, one phone call. I helped her expand her film from $220,000 to $363,000, and all it does is add 1 week of work.
Nice.
To her film production company. So you are changing a family's life, Glenn, because I'm able to go and now help my wife, which is her dream, is to build this film company. She knows that for the last 4 months we've lost some of Mommy, but we're going to figure that out. And this Dear Santa letter was the gift to say, you know what, Omega Mine was the best decision I could have made, because that's why I'm doing it. And everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their reason.
Stephen, thank you for sharing that, the personal story. You're a giver, and I really appreciate it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we are going to end our business breakthrough Google Hangout today. Stephen, just really quickly, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, the best thing is my new passion project is 5minutesecret.com, 5minutesecret.com, or they can go to Stephen Rowell, Stephen with a V, Rowell like towel, but with 2 L's, Rowell, ROWELL.com. But the big one is 5minutesecret, just spelled out, 5minutesecret.com, and that's the one that you're going to see me with a corporate sponsorship, and I'm going to tour next year the 80 largest colleges in America, and it's going to be completely paid for by a corporation, and every single time I'm on one of those 80 stages, you'll know that Glenn Dietzel and his family is standing in the back of my mind going, see, Stephen, you can do it. So.
Stephen, that's great. For people that are watching and are super interested, and not just interested, but I mean seriously committed to making quantum leaps, like Stephen, like Susan, and Chris, I'll tell you this right now: we're not cheap. I really believe you pay for the best and you only cry once. But if you want to have a conversation with myself, we can exchange contact information. All you have to do is, and I'll just let me highlight my screen here for you. Just have to reach out to me directly by typing in the word or texting the word Omega, OMEGA, to 248-469-4376. 248-469-4376. Type the word or text the word Omega, OMEGA, and
Glenn,
who knows?
Glenn, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
And while it's not cheap, within two weeks, by implementing the script and everything you gave us, I landed $55,000 in 2 clients, which is already a 100% ROI on the investment. And I'm a man who was completely blocked, has floundered the last year of his life strategically, and was just out doing speeches by a speakers bureau rather than doing my own strategic work. Folks, 2.5 weeks from Canada till closing 55,000, and I'd already paid for the entire investment.
Stephen, that's great, and you've got all of 2014 with us, so I'm really excited to see where you grow, where all the Omega Mind members grow, and we'll be bringing more Omega Mind members in the new year. We've got a lot of amazing content that we're going to be showing you to help you create your own business breakthrough. And at the end of the day, though, there's nothing like community, like-minded entrepreneurs, where you're focusing on accelerated focus, accelerated execution, and getting things done. And that's what Omega Mind's really all about. So, Stephen, congratulations, and look forward to connecting with you again really soon. Have a great Christmas holiday, and to all of our invited guests and our Omega Mind members that are watching us right now, Merry Christmas here from Christmas at the Canadian Lake Home. I thought it would be apropos to have the tree over my shoulder here at the same place where Stephen has been, and where everybody that comes in to work with me directly at the Canadian Lake Home comes in. So, Stephen, thank you so much. And on behalf of the entire Awaken team, we salute all of you to making 2013 and making the rest of 2013 and the year 2014 your year for massive quantum leaps around truly building an ROIT business, return on invested time.